Cheers, everybody out there in internet land.
Welcome back. We are excited to come on. We're talking all about an important topic. This is all about balance and really allowing at the same time, right? It's like taking action versus allowing, or the balance of the two.
Yeah, because we notice that it's often that's our question is like, how do we balance the two between the two? And then we hear that so much from clients because we've worked with people to where they're taking all of this action and creating all of these results, but yet they still feel out of balance. They still feel unfulfilled, like it's not enough. And then we've worked with people to where they're not taking enough action and they have the same feeling. And we've experienced this too along the way. So that's why we want to talk about this during this episode here so we can bring more clarity to you that we've seen over the patterns within us and the patterns we've noticed within our clients.
Right. And I think the big thing with this is through story, we can share some stories from either ourselves or clients that we've witnessed. I know I can think of a few off the bat where when I first started my business, I was so focused on doing everything at once. And sometimes you do have to push with that momentum at the beginning. I believe that you have to take a lot of action. But there is a balance of taking the action, setting the intention, and then allowing things to happen instead of pushing things to fit, to force things.
Yeah, so this reminds me of when I'm doing my one on one calls with clients. It's the same thing. It's the same question. Like, how do I balance action, meaning like asking them questions, leading them, guiding them, compared to just allowing spirit to guide us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in my one on one calls, the most impactful calls always happen whenever I'm present. I'm very present and I'm in this space of allowing. That's what I'll call it. It feels like this energy, this centeredness, and I'm just very present with my energy in my body, the energy in the client's body. Even though most of the time they're on Zoom, I could still feel that through the computer. And I know when I'm in that space of allowing, I'll call it,
Mm-hmm.
I know when to ask a question, when to be silent. Sometimes I bring in this silence to where it can be uncomfortable at times. And that's the whole point here because we don't always need to know the right answers or the right action to take.
Right.
So, how does this connect to your business or your life and taking action?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing I noticed. It's being present with who you are in the moment, like knowing what has been holding you back in the past and being honest about that, knowing what is your true nature, like what lights you up, what energizes you, and being very clear with who you are. And I think that whenever you get in that space, it's so much easier. You just know intuitively, okay, like you said, sometimes I need to pour on the action, I need to take all this action steps. And then sometimes, wait, I'm tuning in and I'm realizing I need rest right now, I need
Mm-hmm.
recovery.
Yeah. And I think it goes along. Let me just make sure this is working. This is live, guys. Um,
We are live.
so I want to make sure this is
So if
working.
you have any questions below, go ahead
Yeah,
and
let us
comment
know
below. Even if you're on
because we're
replay,
doing this a little
comment
bit
below
different.
and we could answer your questions either on future podcast episodes or if you're students of ours, we could answer them once we're on the call with you.
Okay, good. It's working. Yeah, the biggest thing I'm thinking about right now is when you said the point about you giving your clients space. Because for me, when I first started coaching, working with clients that were doing mediumship or intuition, a lot of the times I was giving them answers immediately. And because we had that conversation of asking the right questions, pausing, letting them have the breakthroughs, now I have a balance of the two. At the beginning, sometimes I felt like I wanted to give the answer right away. And now I understand the power behind the pause and allowing them to have the breakthrough. And I think that's why so much has shifted for our clients so quickly because they're having transformational breakthroughs. Because even though we're leading them to the door, um, they are seeing it for themselves a lot of the time. And that's where they'll remember that feeling, and it comes with the emotion. And I think that goes with when you're intentional and you're taking action, but you're also allowing. I believe you have to add emotion into that. Without emotion, I don't feel like it would happen as effortlessly. I think when we come from a space of love or passion for something, and we have the intention like, oh, I'm so grateful I'm going to have this, or I'm setting up the intention and I'm taking some action steps, and then I'm just letting it, inviting it in. It feels a lot different than I'm forcing it to happen, and I have no intention or emotion behind it. I want it to happen because I that's what I want. So it's taking that time to feel it.
Yes, because if it was just all about, all right, do these 3 steps, take these 5 steps, then nobody would need coaching. Nobody would need
Right.
to team up with other people. Nobody would need to seek out answers. Like all of the answers that we'll ever need, you could go to YouTube, you could go to use AI, you could go to Google, sometimes social media, and you can find all of your answers on what action steps to take. So
Mm-hmm.
like you're talking about, it's not just like what action steps to take. It's like driving that emotion from within. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going to put you into action. So it's like what helps you activate your emotions? What helps you feel your emotions? What helps you create that momentum, that fire inside?
And it's going to
So
be
that
more
way
solitude.
you can take the action. That way you're motivated towards the action. And it all comes down to clarity.
Mm-hmm. And taking the time to be by yourself. I think that's a big thing too. We always preach about like the importance of education and in learning and taking classes. I really fully believe in that, and coaching and all of that. But there's a balance when you're doing those steps, also having the time for yourself. Like you always talk about morning routine. You've trained the students just by the conversations and the stories that you have with the power of morning routine. Our students know that. Um, Taking the time before you go out into the world and talk to people and you have your morning routine. That might be someone's. For me, it might be more of a nighttime routine that I do something where I wind down and I have my space to do that. So it's finding the time between clients or between human beings and have it for yourself. Don't wait till you're about to have a breakdown to have time by yourself. And I was thinking about something. When was this? Well, I watch a lot of shows. I watch these shows. Like on YouTube, Jonah Jitten, where she lives in the middle of Sweden in the countryside, and she's kind of doing her own thing in this house in the woods, this cottage in the woods, and it really causes me to slow down. And watching these YouTube videos inspires me to think about, okay, what do I want to do right now? What do I want to create? What do I want to make? It might be journaling, it might be reading, it might be highlighting a book as I'm reading, but something that really relaxes me. And I think that's really important, that being entrepreneurs, we're so focused on getting things done with business that it's very easy to get lost in the action steps versus what does my soul want to do. And I talked about this with you the other day, that I think on the podcast, probably we spoke about it, that me and my friend, we went to an improv. We did a drop in improv event, and we just went to a workshop and had fun. Those types of things, thinking about what gives me passion, is going to put you on a frequency to be more open for your business to take action steps too. It's going to make you more creative. If you take an art class, or we did it, me and my other friend did a candle making class. Like these are the things that make me happy and help me to have the energy to do other things.
And why do you think that is? Like, what do you, because it's like you're doing things that are outside of your business that have nothing to do with your
Yeah.
business, but you see that going to make a candle. Whoa, this is like translating into my business growing. Why do you
Yeah.
think that is for you?
I definitely, it allows me to be in a soul led space. Like I love doing things like with my hands and like arts and crafts and different things like that. So I feel like it puts my body in a, my nervous system calms down by doing that. And I think when our nervous system is calm, that's when things actually happen. And everyone listening to this, people that know us, you're our students or you've watched our podcast before, you know the power behind the shift with us. I think we probably talked about this maybe on one of the first episodes, like one of, it could have been the first 50, where we talked about Wayne Dyer in the movie The Shift and the book The Shift. So when Tony and I met, for those of you who don't know, we lived in different states. Tony was in St. Louis and I was in Tampa. And we each got The Shift. I sent Tony The Shift and we read it, Wayne Dyer's The Shift. And then we ended up going to see him speak in person and we watched the movie. The other night we watched The Shift again, and it's on YouTube. It's free if you want to go and watch it. And it's one of those movies that really does slow you down and reminds you of the power of the pause and the power of being in the moment. And that movie to me, and to both of us, I think is so significant in all shifts in our life because you don't have to force things. The movie shows that nature is going to happen no matter what. We don't need to tell our heart to beat. Um, we don't need to tell the seasons to change. It's going to happen. And that's how it is for us too.
Yeah, and being people that are highly sensitives, that they're going out and they're taking action and they're taking on all this energy, they're working with clients, they're living their personal life with their families and all of that. Your nervous system can get out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
And then that fogs everything up and then you're not clear. And then you're taking this action and maybe you are getting the same results, but it doesn't feel like it inside. So it's like, what's the point? So it's like when you go and, like we watch the movie The Shift, it's slowing us down. It's reminding us our true nature. It's bringing us back to our center
Yeah.
in the same way that making a candle or exercising for me or playing sports or doing the things in solitude. Like I love being up early in the morning because I feel closest to source. I feel like I'm feeling my own energy again. And I think that most of the people that listen to our podcast, they feel like that. They
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're doing so many, they have their hands in so many different compartments with their family, with their business, with their clients, with everything. And they feel like they're just congested and they're unclear. They're not clear with like what is my true nature. Like you lose yourself in other people. What are my actual emotions
Right.
and what are other people's actual emotions? And I think that's one of the main pitfalls that happens with people that we work with people that listen to this podcast. And then you forget to allow, you forget what action steps work for you, and you forget who you are. But then once you go into that solitude, once you do find your center again, we find that you know your answer. Like
Oh,
when we're
yeah.
on one calls with people or when we're working with people, it's not like we're feeding them all of their answers. We're creating this space so they can, like what the shift did for us, watching that movie the other night, or
Mm-hmm.
when we join programs, or when we make candles. Like we get back to our center, and then all of a sudden, we know our answers again. We're like, wait, this is the right action step to take. I
And it's
need,
easy.
and it's easy, and it should feel like that. So that's a little clue there. If it feels like it's not easy, if it feels stressful, you're in your head,
Right.
you're in your ego. So it's time to slow down. It's time to figure out whatever that is for you. So, what is that for you? What helps you find your center? What helps you get clear again to where you feel your own energy again and you're no longer feeling everybody else's energy? Because when we feel everybody else's energy, we're in our head again and then we're pulled to doing this action and that action, and we forget when we need to rest. And so it all comes down to knowing our own true nature and knowing what that feels like. And for some people that are listening right now, they may not even know what their own energy feels like. Like we've worked with clients to where they've been moms for 20 years. They've been in their career, and so they're going from their, working to being a mom. They lost themselves inside of the world and they don't even know who they are again.
Right.
And so what would you suggest for somebody like that?
Well, it's funny as you're talking, I'm gonna share it because it's something that's real and it's happening soon too. And I wasn't even thinking about this originally when we started talking about this conversation, but I was thinking about a mom that I had for a student. She lived in England, and she said she never took a vacation by herself ever. And she decided to get up and leave England and come to Florida for the psychic medium retreat. And this was the very first retreat that I had. And she was so happy when she was there. She's like, I can't go another day, like another year, without taking time for myself. Now she leads her own retreats. She leads retreat leaders on how to retreat. And it was so beautiful to see because she started to have this epiphany in the moment like, wow, all this time I've been a mom. And this was recharging her to be in a setting to kind of get away. And I think that if you choose the right thing, like the right retreat or the right class or moments that you're spending in solitude, you can really carve out time and step back from the group and really allow yourself to get intuitive information for your soul. So I suggest, this is my suggestion, is finding an activity at least once a year that's a big thing, like a big trip. It could be a trip by yourself too. I know it might feel uncomfortable to some people. Sometimes I tell people that I go and like I'll read a book or, you know, take my work or something to a coffee shop. Sometimes we go together, we normally do. And other times I might go by myself or Tony will go by himself. And for me, I'm comfortable with that. And I think some people feel uncomfortable being by themselves because they're not used to it. And I think that that can really get in the way of choices in our life. And we can start melding with other people's auras, especially if you're a sensitive, a highly sensitive. Like you said, you start melding with different people. You're playing a role. You're a mom, you're a medium, you're a whatever it is, and you forget who are you at the core aside from the title. You know, what do you like to do? So I believe in the power of the pause in your own way and setting up activities that will create this. And I highly suggest people leave their house to do this because it can be too easy at times if there's other people in your house. Sometimes you have to like lock yourself in a room or but I think being in nature is really powerful.
Yes. So now thinking about business, because we have a lot of people that run psychic medium businesses or coaching businesses, and it's like, how do I know what action steps to take in my business? How do I know when to allow? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the zone of genius always comes up for me. It's like literally figuring out. So in your business, like what creates the biggest impact when you take this action step or these 1 to 3 action steps in your business, which ones are those that create the biggest impact on your clients, and then also creates more clients, creates
Mm-hmm.
money in the bank account. And when you figure out what those 1 to 3 things are and you pour fuel on those, that's when your business starts to skyrocket.
Right.
Like, for example, like obviously one of ours is creating podcasts, right? Every time we create a podcast, we're creating impact on our clients, and then it creates more clients over time.
Yeah.
When I do my coaching calls, when you do your readings, when we do our group teaching, our group coaching. So there's a few actions that everybody can take in their business, and when they pour all of their energy on those and focus all of their intention on those, they start to create that centeredness, right? That because they're in their nature, they're in their true nature. It's like making your candle. You start to get centered again.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're centered, you're very intuitive. You know what action steps to take, you know when to rest, you know all the answers that you need. See, many times we've noticed, right, with our clients that they are doing some of their zone of genius, but they're spending a lot of their time outside of their zone of genius. Like whether it's
Right.
answering emails or they're trying to be a social media influencer now. And it's like, why did you start your business? Oh, because I love giving readings or I love coaching people and I love creating transformation. Well, then why are you spending 80% of your time trying to go viral and be a
Yeah.
social media influencer? But there's all these different things, all these distractions
Mm-hmm.
in business that can take people out and throw them out of whack, and then they burn out over time.
Yes. And it usually happens because they're focused on the outside world. I think that's when that normally happens. Um, so it is tuning into your zone of genius and feeling what's natural for you. And I think that really separates the people that are experiencing success. And when I say success, guys, I'm talking about success in fulfillment too. Success and fulfillment and success in your business. Like you have the numbers to show it, but you're also really doing it from a heart-centered space and you're feeling fulfilled. Because I don't consider success having a bunch of money in your bank account if you're not happy. We don't consider success that. So I think that you really have to think about what I'm doing making me fulfilled and satisfied? Am I making an impact? And if not, how can you go back to the things that are really natural for you and think about those steps? And sometimes it is taking a bunch of action. Like our students that we've been working with, like they're going to be working with us for 5 months on mediumship readings, doing the readings, and in between the readings, they're setting up time to take time for themselves. They're doing the mindset work. They're doing the mindset work with Tony, and they're doing the mediumship action with me. And then on at the end of it, they do the retreat. A lot of them come to the retreat because it just brings everything together.
It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it is like that. It's the cherry on top of the whole all the hard work that they've put in. So I think that it's important to have that balance. And I don't even know, we use the word balance in this podcast. It's like the integration process of knowing that you can live your life in a way that feels really fulfilling. And does this happen all the time? No. There's moments where we catch ourselves, like the other day, catching myself like, okay, I'm exhausted today. There's a reason I've been sitting on the phone for hours with customer service, and it was frustrating. And I think I lit my incense at one point, lit my candle, and just like took some time. But sometimes we need that to be aware of, okay, I'm going back into a pattern. I'm going back to this pattern and feeling like it's a lot of work. So I need to switch something, take a little break from the phone. Don't deal with the phone today. So I think that's important too. And we talked about morning routine, but I think the big thing too is not to get so rigid in a routine. Morning routine's important where you might change it up a little bit. One day you feel like taking a walk outside before you see people. Maybe another day you go to the gym, like that's something that you would do. But being flexible, I think that is the biggest lesson with all of this is being okay with being flexible if something doesn't go your way and you have to change it up.
Yeah, and it's going back again what we've been talking about on here. It's self-awareness. It's being present with like what am I feeling right now, because just because you know all of these answers here, stay in your zone of genius, go and have solitude, like you're saying, does it mean it's you're not going to get out of balance? Sometimes you will, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're tuning into your energy. Because here's the thing with people like you, people like us, people that are continuously growing every day, every year, you're not the same as you were last year. So what worked last year, it's not going to work this year.
Right.
So like you got to constantly be in tune with your own energy, figure out ways to stay in your zone of genius in your business and in your personal life, so then you can be in your true nature. You could tune in, be centered, and think about, all right, what is working for me right now, today, in 2025, or whatever year it is.
Yeah.
Not what worked for me last year, what's working for me now, and what's not working for me. And then continue to adjust that. And like you said, don't be so rigid with it all.
Mm-hmm. And I think the last piece to this is have an accountability group. Do things on your own where you have the solitude, but also have a support system and accountability group. I think that's what's so powerful, even about mediumship mastery circle with our mediumship membership is you come together and you start sharing. Listen, like I actually took some time for myself to go to the beach, and you share in the group and they're like, wow, that inspires me to take that action. Or I had a rough reading this time, this is how I can tweak it. And you start to recognize and reflect off of other people's stories. And I think that's very powerful. I think that's very intentional and important to pay attention to, too. Um, so we've covered a lot today. We want to hear from you. Have there been things that you notice with your own life or your business where you're like, you know what? I know that I need to include more solitude in here, or I did this the other day and it helped me, or I took this action step and it was very intentional and it felt like it was less energy than maybe what I did in the past. We want to hear from you. So share in the comments. And then the last two things that I want to share is one, I know a lot of you have reached out about level 3. We only have a couple of spots left. For those of you who want to learn to go deeper with group readings, you want to practice, you want someone to go in and really be there to guide you in the process and bring you audience members so you can practice with, get the mindset coaching, join us. We start on Monday. So if you want to join us, send me a message. And then the other thing is April 26th to April 29th is our psychic medium retreat. If you want more info, reach out. Okay, guys. Well, we will see you soon. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.